How's it going, guys? It's the Pixelate Pumpkin, and welcome back to probably the most important leak video, because today we are taking a look at Spirit Halloween's entire Halloween 2022 animatronic lineup, and I could not be more excited to show these to you guys. We got some really great high-quality photos today, directly from the manual, and there are a wide variety of props this year, so this is going to be a pretty long video, since I believe we have about 10 to 15 prop photos so far. And I am just really excited to talk and discuss with you guys about these different props that have been released for the Spirit Halloween 2022 season. I just want to say I'm 100% within my legal right to make this video, as these were all posted publicly, these images, so I obtained them through sites like Instagram, which they were already previously posted publicly, so I am in no trouble for showing these images to you guys. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into the Spirit Halloween 2022 animatronic lineup. Alright, so before we get into the prop photos, just first, I want to take a look at all the names. So this is for the front theme key. This is each prop that will be present in the front theme this year. We have photos of all the new ones, which is great. And as you can see, Barry is going to be an in-store prop this year, probably a placeholder, I'm assuming. I don't think he's going to just be set up in every store, but that's interesting to see it online only from last year coming in as an in-store prop this year. So that is just something that I thought was pretty strange. I really didn't think he sold that well on the website, but I don't know. They're bringing him in. I just thought that was an interesting thing to say. But as you can see, we have every single new prop's name. So just going from top to bottom on this list, I'll just read each name and throw up a photo of the prop. So the first prop is Possessed Pumpkin. So there's a photo of him. The next prop is Lord Raven. Then the next prop is Bog Zombie. Then we have Grim, but he's returning. Then Tombstone Terror. Shorty, obviously he's returning, prop from last year. Mr. Punchy, and young Crouchy. So that is our front theme props, I guess including the archway as well, since Possessed Pumpkin and Lord Raven are on the archway. So that seems to be it for the front theme props this year. So we do have a key of the back theme as well, so let's take a look at that. Alright, so I'll do the same thing again. I'll just read from top to bottom and throw up a picture of each prop. So starting off at the top, we have Nozzles the Clown, then Lucky Bottoms, the new Little Skelly Bones, Bago Bones, Mr. Dark, but he's returning from last year, Betty Sharpe, Black and Red Jumping Spider, again a returning prop, and finally Regan from The Exorcist. That's it for the back theme key. Now I say it's finally time we move on to taking a look at each of the props. Alrighty, so for the order the props will go in, I'm probably going to be a little bit arbitrary, but I'm going to try to keep it to how the key was. But regardless, here is our first prop, Possessed Pumpkin. Now, this is probably one of my favorites of the year, and one of the few ones that I think are actually really good this year. Now, if you have a good eye, you'll realize that this is in fact a reskin of Crouchy, just as a pumpkin, which I think is actually a really cool idea, and I think they pulled it off pretty well here for the most part. So starting off with his head, I think that is a really grisly and cool looking pumpkin monster head. It looks very awesome in my opinion. I really like how the vines are kind of like hair almost. And I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the skull pumpkin head designs, and they really keep doing that with everything. I would prefer just a traditional jack-o'-lantern look, but I think honestly it looks better as a skull here. It just looks really gnarly, and one of the cooler pumpkin props we had from Spirit. I'm really digging this guy. But for the rest of his body, his claws are pretty cool, but his clothing, it just does not look all too great. It is very bland looking. It makes him look like a scarecrow with the straw coming out of his ruffles, I guess you could say. And I don't really like how much straw is around his neck there. It makes him look like he's wearing a fur jacket almost. Maybe that's just the prototype, how he has that much. But the clothes are just really looking kind of bland on this guy. I would have really preferred it to have his body just be like vines, very similar to Pumpkin Patch Prowler. So I am not really liking his clothes, and for me that takes away a lot of the prop here, since other than his head, he just seems very bland. I'm not really liking how they gave him a scarecrow body once again. It's pretty dumb in my opinion. I think the vines could have worked out a lot better here. But overall for his design, I'm not going to say it's too bad, since the head looks very detailed and very cool. And we already know what the animation will do on this guy. We just don't know if he'll have phrases or just groaning or like growling sounds. I'm just guessing he's probably going to have growling sounds. I don't know if he'll have phrases. But we already know the animation, and I think Crouchy's animation is decent for what he does at least, considering. But basically the main allure of this prop is going to be how gigantic it is, just like Crouchy. So for the most part, I think he's like a solid 7.5 out of 10 prop, maybe a 7 out of 10. But here is where things this year for Spirit really start going downhill quick. The prices. If you take a close look at this guy's price tag, he is $330. That is absolutely outrageous. We have never seen prices this high before from Spirit, and like most props this year, unfortunately, they are all insanely highly priced. Now, I understand why this guy would be in the $300 price range, same with Crouchy, but Crouchy was only $300, I believe, and him being $330 is just honestly a ridiculous price point, and I cannot see many people willing to shell out that much cash for a Halloween animatronic. So unfortunately, that is really bringing down the entire lineup this year, the insane prices. Like, it just feels like they're getting more expensive every year, and I don't understand why. But overall, that is pretty much it for Possessed Pumpkin. I know a lot of you guys are saying this should be my favorite for this year, but I really don't know. He is definitely up there, though, as one of my favorites for Spirit this year. He probably comes in my top 3 or top 4, perhaps. Just a really cool pumpkin prop overall. And yeah, that is it for Possessed Pumpkin. Let me know what you guys think of him in the comments. The next prop we'll take a look at is Lord Raven. Now, I already discussed him in my very first leaks video, but really we didn't have a good enough look at him, but now thankfully we have a great look at him. And I have to say, this guy is kind of a letdown. So from the box, I was saying he's probably going to be 7 feet tall, maybe 8 feet, but unfortunately we had the confirmation that this guy is only 6 feet tall and they're still charging $300 for him. Now, I did say in that video as well that there were no handles on the box, so maybe he's shorter than all of us are expecting him to be, and unfortunately, I was right about that. I really was hoping I wasn't. I was hoping this was some massive towering prop, but he is not even as tall as the typical towering props are, so this is just kind of a letdown. But apparently he does have some interesting animation from what people have been saying, who I don't know if they saw him or something, but he's supposed to have mouth movement, head movement, and arm movement, which is a lot of animation. I don't know how the mouth animation is going to work on this guy, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And if you note here too, his arms must be bent that way because he must have a very wide arm span if you're not, like, if you want to set him up outside and not in the store. So there's that little warning there saying that he must have his arms bent like that so he doesn't hit anybody walking by. So he could do some pretty cool stuff with his arms maybe, but I don't know. Overall, I think it's a really cool concept, and I do like how the skull looks a lot. You could see from this in-store photo here too that his arms are bent out a little bit, so that is another great photo. And you could see how detailed the face looks as well. I'm really liking that, and it looks like he will have light up red eyes, which is another cool thing. But overall, I'm just going to say this guy's probably a 6 out of 10 in my opinion. He is not worth the price at all. Again, they're charging $300 for a 6-foot prop, which, again, I'm going to say this so many times in this video, the prices this year are absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how they're expecting, like, average people, not even just haunters, just average people to be willing to shell out that much money for something they're going to put outside for maybe 2 months out of the entire year. So I really don't get why the prices are so high this year. But overall, again, 6 out of 10, cool concept. I just wish he had more detail. There's really not enough going on. But again, I really want to see his animation and what he does, because I have a feeling this guy is going to have some really, really cool animation. So I'm looking forward to seeing a video on him. So I definitely think my rating of him will rise once I see the video, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that's it for Lord Raven. The next prop we have is one I am extremely excited for. This is Bog Zombie. Now, this guy is a servo prop. You could obviously tell from his stance as he is basically in the same exact pose as Grim, but this just looks like such a cool servo zombie prop. So the biggest feature here is something that not too many people pointed out, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, the photo's just in black and white, but no, the prop coloring is actually black and white. Now, that's going to be a downgrade for a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you, this is honestly some of the most genius design we've seen and some of the most creative, at least, I wouldn't say genius, but some of the most creative design that we've seen making the zombie prop black and white, because it's definitely inspired by Night of the Living Dead here, as that basically being the first zombie movie, and having that inspiration and making this guy black and white just like that movie is honestly a genius idea to me, and I think that is so cool, paying tribute to that movie with this prop. And just for the props design in general, I think it is really cool. The zombie face looks nice, and I'm sure the animation is going to be awesome because of the servo movements. But here's the thing that everyone seems to be worried about, is if this guy will have phrases or he'll just be a groaning zombie. Now, this is going to be a make or break for a ton of people here. I think everyone is in favor for this guy just making moaning sounds, because if he has phrases, I feel like that is just going to ruin the prop for sure for a ton of people. So I am really praying that this guy just groans like a zombie would, and if they do phrases, I can just tell you right now, they're going to be the goofiest shit ever. So I know, I'm really hoping this guy just groans. But overall, this is one I'm still extremely excited for, and I feel like this guy is going to be very popular this year, and I like him a lot. And for his price, it actually is one of the more fairly priced ones. I was expecting this guy to be $300 like Grim, but he's $280 or $270, which for me, again, is still, I think, very expensive and way overpriced. But that's the same price Grim was last year, so I understand why he's priced there. But with all that, Bog Zombie is probably like an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. If he does have phrases, he's probably going to be like a 6, but I'm just going to bank on him not having phrases, so an 8 out of 10 for me. Our next prop is probably one of the worst of the year in my opinion, being Tombstone Terror. Now, this is definitely one of Spirit's budget props for this year. I'm going to be honest, this thing should just be an online only, but the weird thing is this thing actually seems to be less than $100 from the look of the price tag. I'm not 100% sure on that though, since it looks very blurry, so maybe he's going to be $80 or $70, something like that. But here's the thing, I know for sure all this guy does is it just pops out of the back of the tombstone, but here's the thing, if you look at that box photo right there, I know it's very blurry, that skeleton literally looks like one of those dollar store skulls they sell at Dollar Tree. It's ridiculous how bad this thing looks. I think this is one of the more laughably terrible props this year. Honestly, I can't really say too much since we really still don't know what it does. I'm sure all it has is just a scream and that little skull pops out of the top, and it looks so small, this thing as well. Like, this doesn't even look like it's 3 feet tall, the tombstone. I'm sure the skull is literally, you could fit the whole thing in your hand, which is just honestly embarrassing for a Spirit prop. This has to be some of the most lazy and uninspired prop design I've seen, so probably a 2 out of 10 in my opinion. This thing just looks so stupid. Even the tombstone doesn't even look that good in my opinion. So with that, this is pretty much one of the shittiest props of the year. Next up, we have another one that I think is just going to be one of the worst of the year. Probably not as bad as Tombstone Terror, but still pretty freaking bad. This is Mr. Punchy. Now, here's the thing. We really don't know all that much about what he does from just this photo alone, but he is part inflatable, which I always think is bad for any animatronics. But here's the thing, it looks like if the inflatable portion does break on him, you could still just use him as a prop. It looks like the inflatable isn't that important to his overall structure, so I think he'll be fine in the long run if it breaks. But still, it looks so stupid. So if you look at the box photo there, you could see what he looks like with his bottom half inflated. And it looks so dumb. I don't know who is designing this, but seriously, they need to add some new people to their design team over at Spirit, since who's ever letting these get made or coming up with them, they really need to just be fired, honestly. I hate this thing so much. Like, really, it's not, again, not as bad as Tombstone Terror, but it is such a goofy-looking clown. I hate how it looks. I hate everything about it, pretty much. The color scheme is kind of cool. I like the polka dot pattern on the clothing. That's about it, though. His whole bottom half being a beach ball looks so stupid. I don't get it. I really don't. Another problem with this year is that there are way too many clowns again, and most of them are some of the most horrendous clowns we've seen, this definitely being one of them. From what I'm hearing, this guy is basically going to be the new Johnny Punk, and I could definitely see this guy becoming that. Maybe he'll say some really scary shit that will save the prop, but I think he's just going to have the most goofy phrases ever, and probably just some downright terrible animation. Overall, this thing is probably a 3 out of 10 in my opinion. Again, not as bad as Tombstone Terror, but still one of the worst props of the year. Mr. Punchy, he should just go punch himself in the face, because I'm pretty sure that would make this guy's face look scarier. Also, he's $280. Nobody's buying this thing. I hope these things sit and rot on store shelves until the end of time. Next up, we have one of the most interesting and unique designs for any animatronic we've seen at Spirit Halloween. It is so crazy, the variety this year in terms of how unoriginal and stupid things look, and then there's just something like Nozzles the Clown, that's something that I don't think anyone would have thought of in like a million years, but Spirit Halloween has done it anyways. This has to be one of the coolest mishmash of themes I've seen on a prop. Now, he is a clown, but he looks creepy. I love the face on this guy. Here's the mask they made of him again. You could really see how much it looks like him. So this is one creepy looking clown face. I love it. Now, I'm going to try to tell you what I think this guy is supposed to be. I don't know if those things on his arms are supposed to be frosting, like shooters. I don't know. But what I'm thinking is those are supposed to be plasma beam thingies. I don't know how you call them. Just plasma beam lasers, something like that. And as you could see, he does have a fog attachment and fog sprays out of his hands there. I just think this is so unique, and it's just a really strange concept, but I'm really digging it. Now, as you could see on his shirt, he does have that nuclear sign. I forget what it's called. Yeah, that's the nuclear sign. I think that looks cool. He's some sort of toxic-like clown. Again, that's what his code name was. I didn't even know that. But still, one really, really awesome-looking clown. I love the color scheme. I love the detail in his face. I just love how unique and strange he is. That is so cool. But here is the huge, huge issue with this guy. Now, you guys probably won't believe this, but this guy is $350. The highest priced in-store spirit prop to date, and I don't see any reason at all for him being this highly priced. That is just an absolutely outrageous price to me. I don't know who thought people are going to buy this thing, because I can tell you right now, this is probably going to just sit there on store shelves, considering how highly he's priced. Now, I still think it is a really cool concept and idea. As long as he says cool things, I think this is probably going to be the best prop of the year. But $350. And the thing is, he's not going to come included with a fog machine. I can tell you that right now, making this guy even less worth it. So I am just honestly baffled at this point that this guy is that highly priced. It's just I don't even know how to say it. I'm just in shock. There's no words for how disappointed and frustrated I am with the prices this year. But regardless, overall, I'm not going to put his price into how I judge the props. Overall, he's like an 8.5 out of 10. Not the best, but still very unique and cool. Next prop we have is Lucky Bottoms, and again, one I don't really like at all. I already discussed this guy in great detail in my first leak video, and I have to say the manual photo we get is probably worse than what we get from the box photo here. But just from the manual photo, I don't know if the lighting is bad or that's an early prototype, but the eyes look red there, and he kind of looks a lot creepier. But I'm not going to go into too much detail. Again, I already discussed him in great detail in my first leaks video. But seriously, this guy is so overpriced. He's less than 2 feet tall. I mean, he's 2.5 feet tall. All he does is convulse, and he just laughs constantly. In no way in hell anyone is going to pay $180 for this thing. So overall, just a really dumb-looking clown. Probably at most, again, a 3 out of 10 in my opinion. Maybe a 4 out of 10. I do think that Mr. Punchy's way worse, but still another really bad prop in my opinion for this year. Just really not loving this thing at all. The next prop we have is a returning prop, but at the same time, it's something completely new. This is a new for 2022 Little Skelly Bones. Now, Little Skelly Bones was originally a swinging prop, but this seems to be like a 3-foot life-size character that does something. I'm really not too sure on the animation here, because if you look at this photo of Bag of Bones, right next to him you could see he's in this weird crouching position with his face being covered. So I don't know if this is going to be some sort of jump scare prop. That's what I'm guessing. But overall, only time will tell. This one is probably the most mysterious out of all of them so far. I'm not the biggest fan of the original Little Skelly Bones. I think he's one of the I wouldn't say he's bad, but he's definitely not a good prop in my opinion. I know a lot of people like him though, so it's interesting to see him coming back as something completely new, which is weird. But anyways, I still kind of like this thing. Again, I really can't give my full opinion on it because I have no clue what he does, and I feel like that's a big part of the prop. So overall, it's fine. I'm not sure if this was the proper prop to make into a jump scare like this. I would have probably preferred something a little bit more scarier, since even if you are getting jump scared, that skull is not scary at all. So, I don't know. Overall, I'm not even going to give him a rating yet. I really have to see what he does first. But just from the photos, he looks decent. Next up, in my opinion, we have another terrible one, being Bag O' Bones. Now, this seems to be another jump scare prop, but this is some of the most lazy design I've seen from Spirit. Some of the most unoriginal and uninspired design from Spirit Halloween of all places. I always think that Spirit Halloween is the most unique and interesting every year, but this year, absolutely not. Bag O' Bones is a terrible prop, in my opinion. First of all, they just take a plastic skeleton. Nothing here at all original. This seems to be such a crappy looking plastic skeleton as well, so it just looks so dumb. And the sack itself looks terrible too. It says Spirit Acre Farms on it, which I don't understand why Spirit Halloween is putting branding for their own company on props now. I cannot see that being good for sales either, since it's basically just advertising where they bought it from on the actual prop, which I think that's a cool Easter egg, sure, but still, on that prop itself, I don't think that's a smart idea. Anyways, again, the plastic skeleton in here looks terrible. I think it would have been cool if maybe it was a scarecrow that popped out. That could have been actually a really interesting idea, even though it's a simple jumping animation. Still having the Reaper, farm on it is still something interesting, and it would make sense for a scarecrow to be in there. But I don't know. Again, this guy is probably a 3 out of 10 in my opinion, just as bad as Mr. Punchy, if not a little bit worse, since it's just, again, so unoriginal, so uninspired. I don't know what happened to the creativity with Spirit props this year, but they are just completely down the drain. Our next prop is already one I explained in extremely great detail in the first leaks video again, so I highly recommend you go watch that to get my full ideas and opinions on this guy. Overall, he's not that great, obviously based off the symbol monkey, of course. I don't think he's that scary looking, but from this photo, we get a much better look at him. I think his detail is just meh, but the important thing here is that it has something to do with the box. If you zoom in there, it looks like there is a split going down the middle of the box, so maybe that's going to explain why he's $300, because I think there is possibly a jump scare that comes out of that box there. So that kind of confirms it. I don't know, though. It does look like there is a split, like those are two flaps of a door that will open up when there is a jump scare. So I do think there could be a jump scare with this guy. But anyways, he's like a 5 out of 10 in my opinion. He's $300, such a high price. But maybe maybe he has a lot of animation with the jump scare. He's a 5 out of 10, just not very good design in my opinion. Just, again, a very meh prop in my opinion. Our next prop is Betty Sharpe. This was the one featured in the Halfway to Halloween teaser, so here she is in her full detail. Now, I have to say, she's pretty interesting, but I don't know if I could honestly give her a rating yet, since I'm assuming she has a lot of animation, and I can just really not tell what she will do at all here. So I'm just going to try to do my best to explain what I think is going on here. So, first of all, her design is kind of lacking. The face looks very weird from this photo, but she might be extremely detailed and realistic. This photo is just too blurry and too low quality to tell, so again, that's another reason why I'm not going to be giving her a rating. Second of all, she could really use more blood all over her clothes. The knife does have a little bit of blood on it, same with the sack, but really, she needs blood on her clothes, man. It looks so unnatural just having a little bit of blood on the knife. So that is another unfortunate thing that Spirit missed out on. Again, they're not doing any blood anymore. It sucks. But overall, I think the design is kind of meh, but again, I really have to see her in better detail before I can give her a rating, because she seems very unique, though. That's another good thing. This seems to be one of the designs that had more effort put into it. So I don't know what the whole lore is here going on with her and Mommy's favorite, because these two props are definitely related in some way. But that's pretty much it for her. Again, no rating. She seems pretty decent so far. Alright, so here we have the brand new license prop for Spirit this year. The only new one, unfortunately. I would have preferred to see maybe 1 or 2 new license props. But here we have Regan from The Exorcist. Now, she was obviously made by Jemmy so many years ago for Spirit. I think actually Morbid Enterprises made her, my bad. But I'm really excited to see her coming back as a brand new animatronic, and I have to say, I love the addition of that projector that projects the demon that possesses her in the film. I think that is a really cool addition to it, but here's the problem. I really don't see that as being a selling point of the prop. I really think that's it obviously bumps up the price lots, and she is $280, which is ridiculous. Again, I don't even think she's 5 feet tall, so that is just an outrageous price to pay for this. But still, I think it is a very cool prop. I love The Exorcist, such a creepy movie, and I really like how the Regan props have been made in the past, so I'm assuming it'll do the same thing as the first one. Her head will probably spin, and she'll probably have some mouth animation. And again, I really do love that projector, but there's a lot of problems that arise. How strong is the projector? Because if it's too weak, then I really don't think people are going to want it either, because if it's not bright enough, then it's going to be hard to project. And I feel like just having that there also makes it harder for where you're going to set up the prop, because then you need to get something flat to put behind her so it will show up. But I don't know. Again, I really don't see the projection being a selling point of the prop. If anything, it makes it less accurate as a figure from the movie, but I still think it is cool. It's just a cool idea. Overall, Regan is probably another 7.5 out of 10. I really do love her design, but $280, man, that is outrageous. Oh boy, and do we save the absolute worst for last. This breaks all comprehension from how incompetent their design team must be to make this prop. This has to be the most stupid spirit prop ever made. The idea of this in general just mentally cripples me, and the fact that they actually made it is disturbing. My chat literally thought that this prop was a joke or maybe not even real, because who would name a prop young Crouchy? And Spirit Halloween, what the hell are you thinking? How did anyone in the design room not think to speak up and say, wait, isn't the only thing that makes Crouchy a really, really cool prop is his size? And, okay, you know what? Enough rambling. For those of you who are saying, wait, isn't this just Crouchy? No, this is a small version of Crouchy. I can't even begin to comprehend how stupid that sounds. The thing that made the original Crouchy so awesome was his gigantic size. Other than that, I still think his design was cool. I love the face mold. But here is the thing. Shrinking him down and selling him as another prop is so absolutely dumb. I don't understand who thought in their right mind this was a good idea. Making a small version of a prop that what made them so good was their gigantic size, it just doesn't make any sense. This has to be the dumbest spirit prop ever made. I don't understand what happened this year. So many uninspired designs, so many unoriginal designs. This is the epitome of unoriginal and uninspired and just flat out lazy. It is literally the same thing as Crouchy, just shrunk down. No changes to his face, no changes to his claws. I'm pretty sure the claws are probably just as big as the original. I don't even think they bothered shrinking those down. They look way too big on him too. And this just has to be the dumbest idea ever put forward by Spirit Halloween. I don't understand how this was even allowed to be made in the first place. I don't know what they were thinking, but without a doubt, this is the worst prop from Spirit Halloween 2022, and probably the worst Spirit Halloween prop in the past. I would say, honestly, this is worse than Johnny Punk, just because of how stupid the idea is. I don't understand why this is real. I don't get it, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same exact way about this piece of crap prop. Anyways, that is it for all the animatronics this year, so I'm going to give my final thoughts on the entire lineup, and that will be the video. Alright everyone, I just want to thank you all for sticking around this long. If you made it to this part, thank you so much for watching all the way up to here, but we're not done just yet. Now for my basically just general thoughts and just my overall opinion on the lineup, as I typically do in all my videos. This might just be one of the worst spirit years we've had in a very, very long time, and I cannot tell you why. From the prices to the lazy design of the props, this is just one of the worst years, in my opinion, I think we've ever seen. I don't know what happened this year. I really don't get why this happened. There are a few really cool props, in my opinion, this year. Possessed Pumpkin, Nozzles, Regan, Bog Zombie. I think those are probably the best props this year. Those are like my top 4 or 5 right there. Everything else is either extremely mediocre or just flat out horrendous. Here's the thing about this year. The bad stuff is really, really bad. It's dragging down the entire lineup, in my opinion. Mr. Punchy, Tombstone Terror, bag of bones, and especially young Crouchy. I don't understand what happened this year with their design team. This is just sheer laziness. I don't understand how the designs this year are so uninspired and so boring. I don't get it. I really don't understand what happened this year with the design team. Overall, I really do think this is one of Spirit's worst years in a long time, unfortunately. And I definitely think, after seeing everything, I know we haven't seen the animation yet. I know we haven't seen the actual videos yet. And I know people are going to be mad at me for bashing the lineup. But just from, I don't even need to look at some of the props, animation, and phrases to really get a feel for them. But it is easily one of the worst lineups we've had, just from the photos alone. I know there are going to be props that I said I didn't like before. Once I see the sneak peek videos, I'm going to really like. I'm really thinking Lord Raven will grow on me a lot this year, especially after we see the sneak peek. But again, just is a combination of so much bad stuff this year that it basically destroyed the entire lineup for me. It's not a lost cause, though, since there are still online onlys we have yet to see, and I'm still praying that Barnyard Butcher comes back. But really, the in-store props this year, a lot of them are just really, really, really bad. As for the theme, I think the theme is great. I already mentioned that in my previous leak video, so I highly recommend you check that out. But really, that's going to be it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much if you got to this point for watching the entire thing. You don't know how much that means to me. Watching me ramble for 30 minutes really does mean a lot. So thank you all for that very much. But that is going to be it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe as always. And so check out my merch and my Instagram in the description below. And with all that, everybody, as always, this is the Pixelated Pumpkin, signing out.